All right, we're going to try a stream today here. This is an old mix that we are going to try and redo here. So we'll have to do some reorganizing before we jump into it here. We're going to look at the kick drum first and kind of work systematically down here. We're going to check all of our sounds and kind of strip out all our plugins, and then we'll organize all the tracks into folders and groups and everything like that. Okay, so not the best kick drum sound here. Let's kind of start by, well, actually, I want to organize everything first. My old template's going to upset me here, so we're going to get rid of that because we don't need that, and we'll kind of build piece by piece. So here's the drum bus, and these need to be that color blue. So you can kind of see me rebuild my template here. This should be white. And I used to separate like spot mics and high end. We're not going to do that here. So that's that. We're going to give these a little bit more. And I used to have an instrument bus too. We're not going to do that either. So we're going to send that to mix A. No percussion bus either. I used to, you can see all the extra stuff I used to have. So these are actually old colors from an older version of Studio One. I don't need to send to another bus there. That can send out to the mix bus. Bass. Guitars we'll get to in a second. You can see all the effects I used to have loaded into my sessions too. Crazy, crazy stuff. All the vocals will be yellow. Let's get the guitars. Guitars are green. And then I'll send to the mix bus. So this chorus and the dimension, no stereo quarter note delay. We'll keep everything else for the moment in case we need it, but we probably won't. I mean, we'll set everything back to normal there. These don't need to send to an all effects bus. They can send out to the mix bus. Why did I change the color? They'll be white. So we don't need that. We don't need that, that. What's sending to the all Vox bus? Oh, this is still. So that can go to the mix bus. We won't need this. Is anything sending there? Nope. Got a couple things we don't need. I used to have a mix B in case I did some parallel compression. My reference tracks can be gray. We're going to pull this down for the moment. All right, and let's get rid of any automation we have going on. It looks like we got it on this guitar. So it comes on during the guitar solo. We're going to get rid of that for the moment. So no automation. And then on the lead vocal, we are automating a slap delay. We're going to get rid of that because we don't need that. At least at the moment. And let's kind of go through and get some plugins set up here. And we'll get, so we don't need that. We don't need that. And we don't need that. Oh my God, my mix bus is old as well. Wow. Look at that. That's how old this is. There was no phase flip in Studio One back in the day. Oh, we're flipping our overheads. We might actually bounce that. Looks like there's a ringing in the overheads too. So I'm ringing in our room mic. Doing some compression on our room mic. We don't need that at the moment. The Bricasti close. Actually, what we'll do is I'm going to nuke this for the moment. And we're going to just add in some new presets I saved. So we'll load up my Bricasti close here. And that'll be good to go. The claps. I don't know why the second one is so low. We're going to fix that so they're balanced right off the bat here. I would rather just run them all at 0 here. So we can knock that guy up one more. So those are good. And then we have these guys. Cool, now we should be even. Yeah, that looks good to me. So we can pull that down there at the group bus. We're going to send everything to the Bricasti here. It's good there. The bass can come down. We'll make sure this is, we're going to fix that here. This should be 180. So let's actually do this. Again, we'll pull in my presets here that I started saving. There's DI. There's amp. So this is going to be a more hollow sound on the bass we'll have to mess with there. No binaural pan. Guitar should be pretty easy. We'll get there in a second. And vocals. Same kind of thing there. Can pull those. Are we increasing the gain there? We are, okay. We're going to pull up the one on the left, and then we'll pull it down to match in volume there. That way they're even from the get-go, and I can just kind of pull them up as a pair. All right, everything's down. Let's go through loading in plugins. So the mix bus, I actually should have saved a mix bus chain when I created my presets. Maybe we'll do that here. That way it's there and ready to go. So console shaper to start. So back when I originally mixed this song, I wasn't even using any console emulation or anything. So you can see all my presets here now, which is cool. Fat channel. And this will be that. So 30 millisecond attack, 100 millisecond release. A dB of makeup gain for when we need it. And then I set the threshold at -1.6. So that's that. And then we'll go this guy. And hopefully this doesn't crash the stream. This plugin can be a little bit tricky sometimes. Grab a new water while that loads up. Okay, so this, pretty close to default, 5.1. I run it on the B setting because it gives me some more bottom end. And then 30, yep, so 30 inches per second there. Last but not least, limiter on the main bus, giving us 6 dB of gain here. So that's that. Now let's come through here and let's make sure everything's good to go mix-wise. So kick drum. I want to see what that looks like. That's probably the best starting point we're going to be in, but let's maybe do one thing just to give us a little edge here. And I want some room on everything here, so I'm going to put some folders in. So drums, bass, and you can kind of see that we can link the folders to the group buses that we just created for everything. So it keeps everything organized from top to bottom here. And I'm actually going to nuke this reference track for the moment. We'll pull one back in later. Last thing, sometimes when I pack folders, we lose our sub routing here. All right, kick drum. We're going to control these big hits here. So we can actually pull back one. Just so we're not crushing it. And I'm actually going to bounce this. Actually, you know what? No, we don't need to bounce it. We'll leave that on. Let's get our EQ in here and see what we can actually do to this kick drum here. How long is this song? 2:48. I kind of think it's going to need some work here. I like that third one, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my own sample here. Because it's short enough, I think we can get away with this. Yeah, and look how short our kick is. It's a nice tight kick sound. And we're going to bounce this in place. And then what we're going to do is we're going to match it to our original kick, our live kick, Oh, hi. I'm glad the video helped. I appreciate the comment there. Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna copy this little guy here. We're gonna nuke it, and then all we're gonna do is we're gonna make our way through this using tab to transient. So we'll tab to the transient, we'll go down, and we'll paste it. And I'm gonna turn on follow as well. So that's all we're doing is we're pasting the actual kick sample that we created to match the actual kick drum. That way they're perfectly in sync. So we could mix them if we wanted to, or we could do a full kick replacement. Oops. Sometimes I get really carried away with this and I get too fast. Are we double pasting there? So you can get into a groove, but then if you get too fast, sometimes you can get into with double pastes or skipping one like that. And it's not that long of a song, so it actually shouldn't take us that long to make our way through it. And we'll come back and check little sections like that going into the chorus to make sure those are all kick hits and that's not just bleed from our snare drum. So we're into the minute mark here, same thing going into this verse. We'll make sure it's all kick hits. I apologize if the aggressive keyboard hitting is annoying. We're almost done, don't worry. And we're gonna hope we don't have to do the same thing with this snare, but we might just go ahead and do this snare as well. So with older drum recordings like this, where it's not, where it's not the greatest, it can help to, it can help to have a sample if you need to do more drastic processing, especially with something like this. So if I'm doing a lot of drastic processing on the kick drum, I don't want to have a lot of bleed going on. And I want to have full control over just the kick drum. We're going to come back and check those doubles as well and make sure they're actually doubles and not mistakes or anything like that. Like maybe the kick pedal's loose or something and he hits the kick drum and it double hits. And again, we'll check these choruses where they're like build-ups and make sure it's not snare bleed that we're looking at there. Oops, sometimes you'll create a scratch pad as well with the paste button. My fourth finger usually is the weak one that's hitting the command button, and I'll usually slip there and then end up creating a scratch pad like that. Oh, almost done here on the outro. Oh, I like the trick of sending to an auxiliary of the left and right overhead. Microphone pre-effects into a reverb, or in my case. Yeah, you'll see I'm kind of doing the same thing here in my track. I have a mono room, but then I use a Bricasti emulation to get a stereo room. So I can add that into taste to make it however big or small I want. So let's check these guys here. Cool, and what we'll do is these two guys here, we'll just knock them down. Same thing there. It'll make it feel a little bit more natural going into... We'll take that last one down even more. No, those are doubles. They sound good. Pull these two down one. And we'll pull that guy down one just because he's a little... All right, so we have our kick. So now we can actually get rid of our original kick altogether here. And I'm just going to use this guy here. So I'm going to create a layer. And we're going to save this as an edit point, because I don't want Studio One to just have to load in a bunch of little slivers every time. So I'm going to bounce this out to match the finished song here. And then we'll have a finished kick to work with there. Let's look at the snare drum. I think I'd rather do the same thing here. And we'll just paste in the fills. You can see how we're using samples here. I like that one. So same kind of thing. Tap transient. Pull back. Add a little fade. This just makes sure there's no clips going in and out from the snare sample. And then we try and give it a natural return here. That'll have to do. We could come down a little bit more. Can hear a little bit of hi-hat bleed, but that's okay. And now we're going to do the same thing here, but all I'm going to do is whenever we have a fill, we'll just pull it in from the original, and then we'll blend them. That way we keep the fills natural, and then everything else, we have a consistent snare for. And we can even pull down the volume level on the fills to match them better to this. So here, we'll just come in and pull our volume down so it matches a little bit better to the sample we're adding in. And then we just continue making our way along. So we get to another fill, and same thing. Copy the fill down, That looks fine in volume. Continue pasting through. Looks like we have a fill here. When you get a drum, do you have a shorter hold time and a slightly longer release time so that it sounds natural? With a gate, actually I don't use gates on drums. I like to keep them as natural sounding as possible. And in a case like this, if I'm not happy with the drum sound, I'd rather use the actual hit and create a sample out of it, either to blend or completely replace and then enhance with the overheads. So we're going to take that whole refrain there. And then again, we'll just kind of pull from there. We'll notch it down a touch. Oops, see, you can see me creating scratch pads again. So we just have our fills to contend with as we transition sections. Without using a gate, when mixing drums, your levels are going to be less versatile, but more natural. So I don't know about less versatile. It depends on your actual drum recordings. If you have noisier drum recordings, then yeah, if you're not using a gate or you're not using samples, you're going to have less flexibility with the sound. But if you have pretty good drum recordings, like out of the room here at the studio, we get really clean drum recordings, and there's not a lot of bleed to contend with in the kick. So we have a kick in, kick out, and a snare top, snare bottom, as well as 4 toms. And the bleed in them never bothers me. I never get to a point where I feel like I need to sample replace or I need to use a gate. Even boosting like 9 or 10 dB on, say, the kick drum or the snare drum to get top end, the bleed never becomes an issue. So if you have good drum recordings, the bleed shouldn't be an issue. But if you're working with less than ideal drum recordings and maybe you have a bunch of bleed, mistakes happen too. So maybe where you put the snare mic isn't ideal, or the kick mic. So you can run into situations like that where you do need a gate or you do need samples to enhance your drums. But overall, I'm gonna quote Joe from Home Studio Corner. You want to get it right at the source, and you want to get a good drum capture. So try and minimize your bleed as you're recording your drums. And then if you end up with getting a not so great drum recording like we have here to mix, you can do something like we're doing here and introducing samples. Or if you like gates, you can use gates as well. I've never been a gate kind of guy. Oof. Almost done, and I keep creating that scratch pad. I wonder if there's a way to just turn off that shortcut. Because I've actually never used that. And yet it haunts me when I'm editing drums. So we'll have a couple fills to come back with here and make sure they blend. And we'll grab this whole piece here. And that actually doesn't look too bad volume-wise. So that's good. And then here's our end of the song. Final hit, and that guy looks a little loud. And we'll actually just pull that all the way. Put that back up to normal. And we'll just pull the last piece down here. Okay, so let's go through on our sample here. And let's get all of these guys set, so all of our fills. So that's going to need a little bit of a limiter. Pull it down one more. Sounds good there. A little bit of hangover here. That's kind of cool. That looks a little heavy. So we might still need our limiter at the top of this chain, and that's okay, because we actually got rid of it on our kick drum, which is nice. This looks pretty neat here. That sounded great. That sounded fine. That looks a little heavy. So a little bump back up in volume there, and we are fine. Sometimes with those that are cut into two pieces like that we did, you have to compromise just a touch on the volume. This looks even. Nice. Couple left here. One more big fill, and then we've got our little ending hits here. Do I have tutorials for recording drums on my page? Yes. If you go to my channel and you go to playlists, there should be a playlist for how to record, and the first 2 videos should be all about recording drums. So you always have bleed. There will always be a little bit of bleed, but if it's unbearable and it's causing you issues in your mix, then it's too much, and there's things you can do in the recording process to fix that. You can baffle off the kick drum, and you'll probably see that in the recording videos. And you can also make sure your snare mics are pointing away from cymbals. So make sure it's not, pointing towards the ride mic, or it's not too close to the hi-hat mic and not pointing at the hi-hat mic. Stuff like that will save you trouble down the road. But thank you for all your questions today. I appreciate that. Maybe one more on that, see if we can get it. Okay. Same thing here. We'll create a layer. Yeah, of course. I appreciate it. And then same thing we did on our kick drum. We will bounce this out to the full length of the drums. And then we can get rid of our original snare drum here. Hide that, and now we have a kick and snare that we can work with pretty decently inside the mix here. So let's hit play, and let's take a listen to our kick drum. We won't need the limiter here, but we're going to have some work to do EQ-wise. Okay, that'll work. I might actually pull some of this down here so I can boost something lower later. Catch those doubles. All right, now we're going to try and get some top end out of this here. That's not bad. Let's get our low end set right. And then even this out a little bit. So I want to get some 80 in here. And that kind of 110 buildup was a little much. That's better. See, we're lacking in some top end here. So there's our before. There's our after right now. Snare's actually at a really good level. This looks like our biggest peak here. If we set this at 6, does that take care of it? My mic could be a bit louder. That is interesting because I always find my mic is too loud on streams. Thank you for telling me, though. All right, that gives us some control on our snare drum. So I kind of like to work the same way on snare drum, maybe a little bit more drastically than the kick drum. I like to roll off bottom end and then add it back post compression. We're going to copy over the same compressor and we'll tweak it. ton of high mids here we need on the snare drum. You can see how little these boosts affect compression though, which is why I do them pre-compression and I do low-end boosts post-compression. We've added 12 dB at 9K and 9 dB at 2K, and it only added a half dB reduction to our compressor. That's crazy. Now let's get bottom end on the snare drum. Right there. I do tend to like a beefier snare drum. Ooh, right there. All right, we're gonna get the overheads mixed and then we're gonna check phase on everything here. Ooh, do I wanna bounce the dual pan? It's not that big a deal, we'll leave it running. All right, let's check this against our kick and snare now. No, kick's fine. Cool, snare drum is reversed phase. Let's blend in our overheads here and see where we end up. And here's our mono room mic. We're gonna pull out a huge chunk of the mids here. And then we'll blend this into taste. So you can hear the mono room adds a lot of weight to our kick drum. Now the stereo room is going to add a lot of weight to our snare drum. So from the mono room we get our kick drum, from the stereo room we usually end up with our snare drum. cool. We'll come back for the claps here. So this is that violin style bass. So I'm going to try and pull out some of that low mid energy that makes it kind of woolly sounding. About 5 dB reduction. We can actually pull these guys at the end down a little bit more. So because it's a violin style bass and it's more melodic, I want to add some more top end to it. Maybe a little mid-range bite. Not too much. And then let's dial in our bottom end, because we need a lot of it. I want to check the bottom end here. So we're going to pull an EQ on the master bus. Just listen to 100 Hertz and below. Not bad for the moment. So let's get these guitars in play here. And they're pretty even all the way through, so they shouldn't need compression. That sounds great for that guitar. I was gonna say, I could actually probably do to pull them both down in volume. I think this middle section was a dB&1 above everything else, so let's make sure we're still clean there. -3, -1.5 works for me. That's sounding pretty good here. Let me take one more listen to everything here. I think we're gonna stop there for today. Where are we at? Oh, we're over an hour here. That's kind of a little takeaway here. So that's a long. I'm mixing on headphones here. That's a long time to be on headphones with no perspective, and you want to take breaks to keep your ears fresh here. So we'll probably end it here. I'm going to listen down from the top and kind of see where we're at with everything here. All right, I think we're going to end the stream there for today. Thanks so much for hanging with me here, especially through all the setup and sample placement there. If you're looking to go a little bit deeper into the actual mixing process here, definitely check out the link in the description for my 7-step mixing checklist. It's just a simple PDF that will walk you through the entire mixing process step by step. It's going to help you get more professional sounding mixes in less time. It is completely free to download. Just use that link in the description if you are interested. Thank you so much for watching here, for hanging with me here on the stream, and I will see you in another one very, very soon.